There is so much that we know we don't know. We don't know why there are pyramid structures all around the world, built in such similar fashions to one another, built at a time that, to our knowledge, these civilizations did not have a way to communicate with each other. But the similarities in architecture and design are there, which we cannot replicate today or understand how they were built. We don't know why countless myths and legends exist all around the world, depicting a massive flood that consumed the world around it, altering the landscape. We don't know why there are so many similarities between indigenous cultures, their connections to the stars and entities that came down from the heavens to provide aid and knowledge that led to those entities being lauded over as deities and heroes, worshipped and prayed to this day. There is much about our world that is unknown, filled with questions in need of answers. I don't know that what I'm about to share with you is the answer to those questions, but after years of research, observing patterns and similarities, and trying to understand why the things that are happening in our world are happening, I think I may have actually figured it out. This will be a little bit of a mind warp for some, so I hope you can bear with me. I'm going to do my best to keep this as short and simple to follow because I don't deny this is an odd way of thinking about the world. So here goes. I mentioned in my last video, discussing Hurricane Helene and Milton, that experts are continually dumbfounded by how the environment is changing and what is making the weather systems as extreme as they are. For decades, warnings from climate scientists and activists have warned about the rising sea levels and how that rise will affect coastlines, like the east and west coasts here in the United States. We're told these things are happening to the climate because of individual people en masse affecting the ecosystem due to things like carbon emissions, cow farts, and plastics, among a host of many other things. However, as I have previously discussed here, the propaganda pushed on everyday citizens regarding their contributions to the climate disaster we are all in is a whole lot of lies when you look deeper into the climate issue and the real culprits, which are not the everyday people getting in their cars and using plastic straws. The biggest contributors to negative emissions for the climate are corporations and militaries, full stop. And while things are being put into our atmosphere and ecosystem that are detrimental to Mother Earth, they are not the sole reason why we are seeing what we see today when it comes to climate disasters. The Earth is changing. She has changed before. We learned about Pangea in school, where at one point there was one large landmass that encompassed all the continents we know today, but in a completely different configuration that broke apart over time due to seafloor spreading and plate tectonics, creating the landmasses we exist on today. Greek philosopher Plato wrote about Atlantis, a fictional island that was lost to the sea because of the hubris of nations. Then there are the numerous sites all around the world that are being uncovered, that is changing the scale of time for which not only man was present on Earth, but their capabilities and innovations. Sites like Göbekli Tepe and Derinkuyu in Turkey, Pumapunku in Bolivia, Saskatchewan in Peru, the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, the Pyramid of the Moon, Sun, and Dragon in Bosnia, the Mayan ruins of Palenque, the Great Rock Wall in Texas, the Serpent Mound in Ohio, a large network of burial mounds in North America, some allegedly containing giant skeletons that were sent to the Smithsonian Museum but are now nowhere to be found, the Sky City, ruins from underneath the ocean, Bimini Road in the Bahamas, and so much more. Many of these sites are buried into the earth, with honeycomb-like structures that are dug into the earth so deeply, it created an inner earth system where people lived. To what extent, experts are still unsure, but the evidence is there. Massive structures all around the world, built into and under the earth, to hold massive amounts of people. The question becomes, why? Why so many similarities? Why dig into the earth? Why build monolithic structures that are set to particular star systems? The sun, the moon, the equinox, the eclipses. Then there is the Adam and Eve story, written by Chan Thomas, a book released in 1966 discussing the details of cataclysms, pole shifts, mass extinctions, and the cyclical cycle of disasters that destroyed ancient civilizations. Immediately following its release, it was classified by the Central Intelligence Agency, later to be released in 2013, highly redacted and sanitized from its original form. Why classify a book? Why highly redact the pages? Luckily, I found the full version, which is available in the description box below. The question becomes, why is there such a concerted effort by the agencies to keep something hidden that to most people's understandings and beliefs is hokum?
Our Sheldon would say, hokum.
Unless the powers that be don't want people to know that which the ancients knew. The theory I pose here, that is not my own, but the culmination of many others that have done even more research and in-depth study than myself, is that the ancient civilizations understood the intrinsic link between our planet and the cosmos. Most importantly, the link of our planet to our star, the sun. Their people knew and understood their impermanence and the necessity to live alongside Mother Nature, not against her, because of the cycles of the earth and its ever-changing landscape. Our star, the sun, has a profound effect on our planet, from the sun's rays to the CMEs that hit our geomagnetic field that can seriously weaken it with consecutive blasts. All of this has an effect on us, physically, mentally, and emotionally. But we are not taught anything about how the sun affects our bodies in school. However, the evidence is there. We are greatly affected by the sun, and it has a profound effect on our planet, the people, and is linked to Earth's cyclical nature. So we have flood myths all around the world. Ancient structures that beg for us to look up at the stars, the heavens, and we have evidence all around us that something happened that we cannot explain. Ancient cities buried in rainforests in the Amazon, the Sahara Desert turning green and exposing lost sites, structures all around the world that we cannot explain, that we have no history of. Why is there sand in Colorado when it's nowhere near an ocean? Why are fossils of aquatic life found on the tops of some mountains? It's like there is a gap, an amnesia. And when things like the Adam and Eve story are covered up and classified by the CIA, my spidey senses tingle, because to me, it all connects to each other. It explains so much of why we see what we see today. Think about all of the times you have heard 1 in a 100-year flood, 1 in a 1,000-year storm, unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this. We can't explain this. This is happening because, to my belief, we are currently in the throes of the cycle of change for our planet, where Mother Earth is beginning to flip once more, getting ready to shift and change the planet, just as she has done so many other cycles before, catching wildlife off guard by the immediate change of weather, like the mammoths found in the ice with food still in their stomachs barely digested, because a change happened that quickly, taking every species of life along for the ride, including our ancestors. In my previous video, I discussed the bureaucracy of our government, how they don't want to help those affected by the destructive climate disasters we keep experiencing or shoring up infrastructure to better handle the change of the climate. For the longest time, I believed it was simply because of greed, incompetence, and political theater. But now, after countless disaster after disaster, warning sign after warning sign, I think the bigger thing here is that our government and all world leaders do, in fact, know and believe in the disaster cycles. I think that is why the Adam and Eve story was classified and is still highly redacted, because our governments have lied to us about so many things. They certainly can't be honest about cataclysms, how they work, their cyclical nature and occurrence.
I think that's wrong. Just want to tell everyone they're doomed? There'd be anarchy. You want to jeopardize the departure of the president? Come on. Our mission is to assure the continuity of our species.
Because they only happen so often, everything gets reset, and the victors get to rewrite history. Our history didn't begin 2,000 years ago. It began a millennia ago. We are on the brink of a huge change. Exactly when, I don't know, but theorists pose that in the next 5 to possibly 20 years, we will be at the place of the 13,000-year cataclysm cycle, the reset point. And I think this is why the people don't know, because we certainly can't save everyone. We can't educate people on something that just so many sounds like a load of horseshit. It breaks from the confines of what we believe and understand to be our world. And because we are so overburdened by the stressors of society, culture, work, money, family responsibilities, and so much more, there's no room for this. There's no room for thinking about many of these things to the everyday person. And I believe that our governments are banking on that. They know that the change and shift is coming, so they are not doing anything to fix the infrastructure in Florida. They are going to use the devastation in North Carolina to be greedy like the dwarves in The Hobbit and dig and dig to their heart's content for minerals and resources that they think will help them or save them, or at the least, give them the financial abilities now to prepare themselves and their families for the future. It's why there are underground military complexes all around the world. It's why the billionaires are preparing for an above and below approach, building sites into the ground and rockets to go to space. They are preparing for the end of the world. They don't want us to know. They keep hiding the information because they don't want mass hysteria, and they want to keep us busy and occupied for as long as they can, so we get them their pretty cozy bunker complexes while we all live out our worst fallout fears. To sum it all up, this is why the experts don't understand why they are seeing what they keep seeing, because just like governments and corporations, as I have explained here in the past, compartmentalization also exists in the sciences and academia as a whole. They are directed and designed to only look at things through a particular lens. Academia is not very open to expanding their research and applying religious stories and texts to their studies of ancient civilizations and cultures, archaeology and our climate, because they have been designed to be separated from one another. Compartmentalization and corporatization is what keeps so many different ways of thinking and researching the world separated from one another. Because once the veil is lifted and we see the interconnectedness of all things, the game changes. It's no longer about the money and power, but about how do we survive? How do we be truly sustainable and self-reliant, giving Mother Earth her space and ability to breathe? It's a lot to take in, and like I said, I don't expect you to believe me just because. This thought process comes from over a decade of asking these questions, researching a host of different cultures, myths, legends, sciences, archaeology, astronomy, astrology, ancient civilizations, and much more. If you are wanting to learn more about this, I will leave some resources to things that have caught my eye over the years and contributed to my research and beliefs on this topic. So what do you think? Is this something you have ever heard of, or is this new information? Let me know down below, as I love getting your thoughts and perspectives. And if you want me to cover more of this topic, in particular the Adam and Eve story, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you made it this far, leave me a sun in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, take care, and be kind to each other.